friends. It's almost midnight, and you found your way to the PikeCast. Come along as we careen through the catalog of the most formative horror writer of our young adult days, Christopher Pike. From adult perspectives, we'll revisit these YA books our parents probably would never have let us read had they known what lie inside. We tackle one book per episode in a freewheeling and unbiased chat. So grab your battered paperback, pull the flashlight from the kitchen drawer, climb under your bed covers, and devour a good book with us. Greetings, fellow Pikers, and welcome to the PikeCast. I'm Cooper Beckett, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my lovely co-host.
Hello, I'm Cassie.
Hi, I'm Becca.
Today, we are digging into Christopher Pike's 1986 book, Weekend, which is definitely not his first book, so I'm not sure why I was so adamant about that last time. We're going to be dissecting it in great detail, spoiling each and every plot twist, so consider yourself warned. If you're enjoying the PikeCast, please leave us a review on the podcast service of your choice, and welcome to our guest Piker this week, writer and degreed librarian, which I really enjoyed that in the bio, Alana Phelan, co-author of the For Hire series of superhero novels. So happy to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
And why don't you tell us how you discovered Christopher Pike?
Okay, so I'm a listener, right? So I knew this question was coming. And yet, I'm old. I was reading the Pike books as they were coming out. Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty sure Weekend and Slumber Party I read as library books, but I'm not positive. When I think about Pike in my life, I don't remember a time that he wasn't there while he was writing. But I'm almost positive that Weekend and Slumber Party were in my middle school library.
Wow.
I'm almost positive they were there. They definitely weren't, I definitely didn't pick them up in high school because in middle school, I was already reading them. And I never owned Weekend and Slumber Party until I was older. So I must have gotten them from the library. And I think it was the middle school library, not the public library. Which, considering the
that
content
middle
of the
school
book
library,
later,
it just really provided a lot of Christopher Pike's sauciness to a lot of people.
But also I remember that's where I got into Agatha Christie too. So my middle school library was pretty much like, hey, we have a very, there was Ellen Conford and Judy Blume, and there was a very wide range of what you could read. I also read like Rebecca, the classic novel Rebecca.
Really?
So we had such a wide range of what you could read. And I'm pretty sure that that's where I pulled those first two books. And I was like, these are pretty good, not significantly different from the other horror books that were out at the time. And so it wasn't until I think Spellbound that I really felt like Christopher Pike was different than the others.
Yeah.
And that's where I fell in love. And that was the first one I bought.
So what is the thing that keeps him on your mind all these years later?
So I have not every single book, but almost every single book. And I do a reread of pretty much all of them every, I would say, 5 years or so. Wow. And part of it is to see how he changed over time. Part of it is to laugh at some of the things that are just so out there. But I think honestly what sticks with me is that it feels like when you read him, especially given how much he wrote over a relatively short period of time when he was writing and putting out so much, is that it feels personal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I feel that as an adult and as a writer. But what kept me going when I was younger was that it felt like he was the one guy who was writing and would tell it to you straight. Like he was the guy pulling the curtain so that you could get into a guy's head. Sort of like you could trust Judy Blume to tell you what it was like to be a girl. You could trust Christopher, no matter what he was writing about. If he could be writing about a murder mystery, or he could be writing about lizard aliens, but you would still get that same sense of what it was like to have desire as a guy, as a teenage boy. Even if he was writing a teenage girl protagonist, you could trust him. He wouldn't lie to you he wouldn't sanitize things. There was no after school special feel to any of his books.
Oh no, there's no sanitization at all.
Right. And so as an adult, when I go back and I read them, I'm always still impressed by, in the midst of, I would go home after school and watch, the most over the top things on cartoons and all of that, cartoons, after school specials, made for TV movies, and they were cheesy and they were situations that you would never get in. And Pike was like, no, teenagers actually drink casually. Teenagers actually have access to drugs in a way that isn't silly or, doesn't come with some ridiculous soundtrack. Nobody does drugs one time and it kills them unless they're doing if you put it up against Sweet Valley High, where Regina Morrow does cocaine one time and that's it.
Wait, someone does cocaine in Sweet Valley High?
Yeah, Regina Morrow.
Really? Wow.
She's my anti-drug. but yeah, but that was the whole thing, right? At the same time that Christopher Pike books were coming out, Sweet Valley High was huge. But Sweet Valley High, it was incredibly shocking that Bruce Patman unties the top of Elizabeth's bikini and the water hits the bottom of her breast. Like, that was legitimately shocking. And at the same time, Christopher Pike is like, yeah, teenagers have sex. Did you know? And then a couple of years later, I get to be a teenager and I'm just like, yeah, there were people in like 8th grade who were having sex, and it was shocking to most of us.
Yeah.
But it didn't mean it didn't happen. And so it felt like, and still to me feels like, I'm happy as an adult that there were authors who were willing to say, okay, let's write whatever we want to write, but let's be honest about the fact that there are teens out there who are having sex. Let's be honest about the fact that there are teens that are doing drugs. Let's be honest about the fact that, like, girls think about sex, and sometimes they can think about sex a lot. And the ways they think about sex are complicated.
And with Pike, I think the secret is it is like a Trojan horse, because parents and libraries clearly thought that these were just like every other teen or YA horror series, and they would be just fine. Like, just put them in the library. It's fine.
I don't know necessarily, though, because I am a librarian, and I will tell you that when I was working in a library, I read a lot of what was on my shelves. Like, really? A lot. So, I mean, when I was a YA librarian, I was reading a lot of YA. When I was a children's librarian, I read literally every picture book that came in for a year. That was an undertaking that I will never do again. I hit 1,000 books on Goodreads one year, and I looked at that number and I said, what did I do? But I thought it was cool because, like, it meant that I could, like, tag the books, figure out which ones I wanted to do for story times and all that other. But it was we were getting a lot of books. I would never do that again. But I want to read what I read 50 Shades of Grey because my patrons were reading 50 Shades of Grey. You're welcome, that library system. And then I fought with a patron over it. It was really funny. But a lot of us read what's on the shelves. So yeah, it's possible that the librarians that you think weren't reading the books were actually reading the books and thinking the same thing that I was reading, which was, hey, you know what? Not a lot of people are going to notice, but the kids are going to notice, and maybe they need that.
Yeah.
What are your favorite Pike books?
So online, I am known as the Polyamorous Librarian. I am polyamorous, and asking a polyamorous person about their favorites.
I know it's hard.
It's so hard.
Well, that's why we have an S at the end. You don't have to choose one.
I know. Well, I was trying to narrow it down to 3, and then I was trying to do this thing where I was like, okay, I'll do like my 3, like one adult, one, out there one, and like one just like straight up murder mystery that probably has 4 or 5 or 20 dream sequences. But
yeah,
I was originally going to say Last Act, which I know that you all didn't love.
We did not.
I didn't listen to that episode yet because once I heard in a different episode that you didn't love it, I refused to listen to that episode.
Wow.
Until after we recorded this. Like,
okay,
when
because you didn't want to hold a grudge while you were recording with us.
I just didn't want to get into it. That would like take up too much time. I'm not here to fight about my love of Last Act. I'm here to discuss Weekend.
I'm here to listen to this fight, though. So, I'm here for
it. When you're all finished all the books and you're like, okay, now we're going to go through and have on our contentious guests, then it's time, right? But also, I haven't reread Last Act since, I think, 2012. So I'm not sure anymore. Could be different. But Last Act also wouldn't be one of my top 3 if I was going to absolutely be locked into a top 3. I think, pretty sure, Season of Passage, even though I really don't love the ending, I love the rest of it. And if somebody who did not hear me say this, because I'm like, as soon as I record this and someone's going to do this, came up to me and said, I see you brought the fire, I would like lose it. I would lose my mind. I would be terrified. Right? Like that book scared the heck out of me.
Yeah.
And for the same reason, Scavenger Hunt.
Okay.
There's so many weird things going on in Scavenger Hunt, but there are moments in that book that legitimately frightened me.
Yeah. Yeah, and Scavenger Hunt's a fucked up book.
Yeah, but I love to joke about incest lizards. Like I always joke about incest lizards. I legitimately there's the dinosaur from, I can't remember what the name of the comic is, but it's like this older web comic, and I literally have taken the picture of the lizard, of the dinosaur from it, and like flipped the picture so that it looks like they're kissing, and I'm like, this is my representation of Scavenger Hunt. I used to use it on LiveJournal, but when I talked about Pike, but also Sadi.
Oh, okay, we haven't done that one yet
because it was really hard to track down, and because it was like the first adult one that I read. And it had a lot of philosophical things in it that I really enjoyed, not only as a younger person, but like as an adult. I feel like it's a really great book to discuss. So I'm excited for you to get to it.
Me too. Yeah. All right. Well, now that we've made you choose those, now we can move into tonight's discussion. Let's move into Magic Fire and have Becca read the back of the book.
The dream became a nightmare. The weekend in Mexico sounded like a dream vacation. 4 guys, 5 girls, and a gorgeous oceanside mansion all to themselves. It should have been perfect. Except nothing was going the way they had planned. There was the girl upstairs who was fighting for her life, the phone lines that went dead, and the explosion in the garage that could have killed them all. But not even that prepared them for what happened next. Because while they were getting some sun, someone else was getting revenge, and the terror wouldn't stop until the weekend was over. Dun dun dun.
That's actually a really
accurate one I've heard so far.
Yeah,
it really is. And not only that, but it's really appealingly written.
Yeah,
like I want to read that book. That's interesting, because we so rarely get that. I really love the artwork on this book. This is one of the few non-Brian Kotsky pieces that I really like. It's got a whole vibe to it. It's got a little bit of, it's got the 80s feel. It's got the really sharp letters, which I think are very cool. Yeah, I really like this cover.
You do? Because I don't actually like it.
No?
No, well, I was thinking about it.
Well, that's fair. We can dislike. We can disagree.
Well, so here's the thing. The house, I actually think of the house as sort of its own character in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It could be probably more of a character in the book if he had taken like more time with the book itself. But like, I understand why they're highlighting the house. But right. I feel like the cover is really claustrophobic because when I thought about like the aesthetics of the cover, I was like, okay, I was like, how would you do it differently then? Because if you don't like the cover, you've got to come up with something else. Fine. I would actually have pulled back more, give it more of a sense of isolation. Because I can't just sit here and you know, I can't just trash a cover. I'm not even trashing it. Like, it's really interesting, but I almost feel like the colors are too flat. You know, this is their Mexico vacation. It's supposed to be really...
that's true. It doesn't immediately sell Mexico for me here.
And that's kind of what I was looking for. And then I was like berating myself, like, what are you expecting? Like a Mexican flag or something silly? But also the house itself, when they describe the house with the world's most evocative yet meaningless phrase, right? It's described as a drawer full of incomplete Rubik's Cubes.
Yeah. That was I mean, that's definitely words.
It's words. It's a lot of words. I couldn't figure out what I didn't like about the words. And so I read it out loud to my housemates. And one of them said, that'd be great if it meant anything.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
I would have liked to have pulled, like I said, I want to pull back, get more of the ocean in there and more of a sense of isolation, like the long road that leads up to it.
Mm.
The fact that Parks says, you know, if this place floods, that's basically it for us. We're trapped.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And
I would have liked the bird to be either bigger, you know, more of a presence, or just a shadow of the bird or something like that. I don't know. There's something about...
Oh my God, there's a bird on the cover.
Exactly.
Holy shit.
Exactly.
I didn't even notice the bird. I noticed the person's shadow, but I didn't even realize that was I don't know what I thought that was. My eyes like just did not focus on that. And I was like, yeah, that's a statue. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Because it's flat.
Oh my God.
It's because everything in it is flat. The house is supposed to be dynamic. I actually went and Googled like Frank Lloyd Wright and houses like Frank Lloyd Wright's. And I almost got the sense that it was supposed to be like the Eames house. Which has a lot of, you know, it's all squares. And it does look like a bunch of Rubik's Cubes, actually. And I thought, like, here, it looks like it doesn't have any windows. And the house is described as being basically all window, which the Eames house is.
Those are windows. Those look like walls, but it's because of the light reflecting. But they're all windows on the sides.
I kind of wish that it looked more like, no, I get that it's supposed to be, but to me that makes the color look flatter and makes the house look a little bit more bland.
I think it just has weird, like they don't know where their lighting's coming from and that's why it's trashy. It's because the ocean is dark, the sky is dark, there are no lights, and yet there's light coming from the center of the picture that's blowing everything out. Like artistically, it just it's not a good choice. That's not how you do lighting. That's not how it should look. That said, I don't mind the cover, but it looks like it could have been like a Sweet Valley High Vacation if it had been in the daytime and then the same cover.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no garage too. I wanted to see like a blown up garage at least, or like the garage that's supposed to have blown up at some point. Like it was such a big crucial part.
Yes.
Where's the garage? Is it near the ocean? Why? You don't drive on the beach. Like that's not how that works.
Wow. Okay.
So
architecturally and lighting, I'm just saying those are my two things. But I didn't even realize there was a bird, so I didn't look too closely, I guess, until we discussed it. But yeah, because the lighting, it's weird because like the lighting's coming from the corners, so it's almost like they're trying to make it seem like there's a sunset. But how is the sunset phasing through the house? Like It doesn't make any. So then it's like, oh no, the sun's on this side behind you, the viewer. No, then why is this all dark? Like, it's just
and
weird.
if it were
it's
the
really
lights
weird.
inside, right? If it were the lights coming from inside, they wouldn't have that angle.
No, you
right?
would see inside the windows.
Exactly. But have you seen the
It's so
reissue? Because it's
strange.
even worse. It's
No.
like a bird sitting on a bottle of poison. And it's like an
Oh,
old-timey bottle of poison, which has nothing to do with nothing.
Yeah.
Ugh, reissues.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
so
ew.
my question then is...
It just says insect death on the bottle of poison.
Straight to the point.
Oh, gosh.
So while we all agree the back captures what's inside, it sounds like nobody likes the front except me, so
I
that's
mean,
fine.
I'm neutral with it. I don't mind it.
It's a great
Cassie broke
idea.
it down.
Yeah, but Cassie broke it
You know
down.
what's interesting is I just found when I'm looking for that cover, I just found another one of the same cover that we have, but it's a little bit more pulled back, so it does look slightly more isolated. It's like they zoomed in for the one we have.
Ooh.
If
Now
you Google it, yeah, it's like an older one. It's it's only slightly, but you can see more of like the ocean and the sides, and that does make it look a little bit, I don't know, a little bit better, I think. It's a little less claustrophobic in my opinion.
Well, let's slide over to the Midnight Club and start talking about this ungodly huge cast list.
All right,
There's
let's
so
talk
many.
about how we could have fixed this cast list with a Nancy Drew Files style list of characters in the beginning. Do you remember the Nancy Drew Files?
Yeah.
When they rebooted the Nancy Drew series in the, I think it was like late 80s, early 90s, you would get like a suspect list in the beginning. And it told you who everybody was. And oh my gosh, would that have helped for this? That's all I wanted. Mostly because I couldn't remember who Carrie or Angie was in relation to each other unless I remembered who they were dating.
Well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem right off. Let's start with Shani Tucker, whose name is not Sherry.
Oh my God, how many times are we going to accidentally say Sherry? I think we should have like a little buzzer. Shani.
Okay, so her introduction is she had to be the most sexually inexperienced girl in her senior class. She hadn't even gone all the way through a Playgirl magazine. There's a little shout out to Playgirl. Yeah. Getting dates had been no problem, but the guys would only kiss her cheek and at the end of the date or else shake her hand. Not that she was obsessed, she was merely very, very interested in sex. What she really wanted was what all of them wanted, a relationship. Unfortunately, she had taken physics and had received a good grade and had won a scholarship to the University of California at Santa Barbara and had listed psychiatrist as her ambition in the yearbook. And this is a long sentence. And had read too many of the classics and had a repulsive habit of sounding intelligence, all of which was enough to make any adolescent male ego insecure. Seriously, that's all one sentence.
That's awful.
Wow.
Like, that is awful. I realized when I was reading that line, I stopped because I was like, is this one fucking sentence?
It
what
just keeps going.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's like 5 and I was just like, and what the heck? Who did this? Why?
But with the possible exception of Lena, Shani was the prettiest girl in school. She was too thin and her breasts were nothing to grab. Saul had tried once. But her hair was as black as an old man's raven, toppling in a curling cascade to her butt, and Mother Nature had granted her facial structure every break.
What is even that as a description? An old man's raven?
No. So Cooper's reading Shani. See, I'm going to do it. I'm going to call her Sherry every time. She is the proto Sherry. She's got the same sense of well, it's got the same kind of jokes in it. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's this, he loves her the same way. Pike loves her the same way that he loves Sherry Cooper. But he's reading 2 different descriptions. Her view of herself and then Park's view of her. So by this point, they've met the old man with the raven.
Yes.
So that's where the hair thing
That's very
comes from.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Yes.
No, that's fine. No, contextually that does make sense then, because I was like, what a random fucking way to just like, hey, this is gonna come back later. Like, I just didn't understand that.
And then the last bit here, this is also part of that second point of view, but her claim on the hearts of Hoover High's male population was due to her eyes. They were a shade of dawn's darkest, clearest blue, like large round mountain lakes an hour before sunrise. Yet with all this, Shani saw herself as nothing more than a bag of bones with a boring personality.
And then he says she's
just
boring.
imagine him writing these, and he's like, okay, so her eyes are blue. He's like, okay, blue like mountain lakes. And he's like, wait, an hour before sunrise. Like, why do you have to keep going? It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
And this is my favorite thing about Shani. She apparently eats Rolaids like candy. Because literally, she downs an entire roll of Rolaids.
A roll of Rolaids.
in one section here. Yeah.
I think it's so odd because she's the one of all of them who doesn't eat junk food. All she does is eat health food, but she has the worst health of them except for the person who is literally dying.
Yes, indeed.
She's got like this torn up stomach and all this anxiety, and yet she's like, oh, her skin is so clear because she eats all this junk food. And she's so thin, she doesn't even have a chest. Like, I'm not...
No, she's just a bag of bones.
I feel like you can eat as healthy as you want, though, but if you have, like, really bad anxiety, you're gonna be fucked, man.
Yeah, that's true.
It's unfortunate.
So she needs to eat more bread, soak up all that acid in her stomach.
So Shani's actually a character, I feel like. Mostly because we get POV shit from her, which makes her more well-rounded than, let's say, any of the other female characters in this book.
Absolutely.
Starting with Carrie Ladd, who all I really remember about Carrie is that she was ultimately the one who put the poison in the glass and doesn't like Lena. That's it.
She had her boyfriend stole, and then she had her underwear flashed to all of
it was Carrie, yes, right, okay.
I forgot about that.
And oh my god, that underwear thing.
Yeah. What were plastic or paper pants anyway?
I have no idea.
How did you not notice you're putting on paper panties when you were putting on your unders? Like, of all the things, like, no matter what kind of rush a person is in the world, I would not pull on a piece of fucking paper and be like, these are panties, like, this is great, let me go. Like, that's not...
Our paper
that
panties...
pulled me out so hard.
Are paper panties as papery as I'm imagining them?
Yeah, like when you go to the doctor and you have to put on...
Oh
my
God.
Assuming. But like,
how does
anybody know what a song leader is or whatever they're talking about? Because I had to look it up.
No,
we didn't have that. We had cheerleaders. They mentioned cheerleaders, but they're not cheerleaders. This is like a whole different thing.
It's like one of those intersections between chorus and I could never remember what they call that. That's
they have a lot because they have like pom-pom squads too.
Yeah,
it's not like actual cheerleaders; they're different.
It's California. They need to send people outside a lot. Go outside and sing for the football team. Come on. Yeah.
I actually did cheerleading for a couple years when I was like pee-wee cheerleading for the pee-wee football. And you would never, ever not know the difference because the things that you wear are like spandex. Yeah. They're not even like underwear. You would not make... And you're not allowed to wear underwear underneath your, like they call them bloomers or whatever. You're not allowed to wear underwear under them. And the whole thing is really bizarre and shady, but I do love that it's this like gossip machine.
Yeah, but she didn't even show her butt.
Right. That's the whole point. Thing. No, that feels so high school. That actually feels like something that definitely happened in that, it says it probably took 20 seconds, but it felt like forever and everybody pretended like they saw something. Even though she had on like flesh-colored underwear underneath, everybody swore they saw her butt. even though Shani was right up front and saw nothing, and everybody had cameras and nobody got a shot of anything. It didn't matter because all that mattered is what everybody said and how humiliated she felt. That is so high school. That is so perfectly high school.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It just struck me as like, why are we still talking about this? That's me looking at it from an adult perspective, not from a high school perspective.
What's wild though is that her reaction to these things, like, it sucks to have your boyfriend taken. It sucks to, be embarrassed in front of your school, but her reaction is to poison another human being. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. We'll get there.
Well, she has. So let me read this description here. It wasn't that Carrie was ugly, and it's going to be a good description when that's the first sentence.
Pike.
Though on the short side and a few pounds overweight, she had a pleasant face and a fine figure, plus a genuinely striking smile, which she sadly flashed all too seldom. So Pike is literally saying, why don't you smile more? Lost somewhere between blonde and brunette, her short shag hair needed styling, but with a good cut and the right clothes, which neither she or her parents could afford. She could have competed with almost any girl at school. Of course, here's the subline, except for Lena, her nemesis.
I mean, it's really sort of fascinating because if you had asked me a couple years ago, I would have told you that Pike was entirely fat phobic, but listening to some of the conversations that you all have had and rereading Weekend now, I legitimately think that I have conflated him at times with some of the characters, his point of view characters, thinking that just because certain things come up over and over and over again, that must be reflective of the author. But then you read something like this where it's like she had a fine figure, but also she was a little overweight. And I'm like, wow, I never would have expected that in like a later Pike book. And maybe it doesn't happen in the later Pike book, but it happens here.
He definitely feels like he is always writing from points of view when they're doing these description panels. And usually the negative ones are either about a character he really doesn't like for some reason, or are from the point of view of the character themselves.
Right. Because Park is totally racist.
Right.
Park is so racist. And yet when you read Remember Me Too, you're like, okay, but Pike is racist. Because you can't even write a sympathetic character who is Latina. But it's confusing because it's obviously Park because Shani isn't.
Right.
Yeah. So confusing. But
so let's move on to Angie Houston, who is probably the least character of all the characters in this book. Like, honestly, if I'm not looking at my screen with all my notes, I can't remember a single thing she did in this entire book.
She tried to get Park in the pool naked behind the other girl's back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I guess I just assumed that was Lena because Lena is that character in this book. Okay. Well, Angie was
also,
attractive.
it was her sister, too, so she wouldn't have done that to her sister.
Oh, okay.
Because Robin was dating Park at the time.
Right. Angie was attractive also, but in a more traditional, less exotic fashion. A bleached blonde, she had a tan in midwinter and brown legs longer than Saul's own. He didn't know what color her eyes were, but they were nice.
That's Park. That's like Park being like, this is my girlfriend. I don't know what color her eyes are. You know what? Never mind. I never know what color the eyes are of the people that I'm dating. I'm like, they're bluish.
They were nice. Only when she had her clothes off was she really interesting.
Terrible.
Bum.
Terrible.
Okay, now on to Robin, who is our sickly victim of this book and these awful friends. Robin was jaundiced, even in the center of her once emerald eyes, Even the centers of her once emerald eyes were stained a sad yellow. The sheen and curls had fallen from her brown hair. I feel so bad because that's her entire, like, she doesn't get like 4 paragraphs of description like some of these other characters. She's just sick. That's it. That's who she is. She is sick.
I feel like you get to know her through the course of the book. They do talk about like how kind she is. Mm-hmm. There's a part early on where I think it's from, I don't know if it's from Shanny's perspective or Park's perspective, but they talk about how she is like almost too kind and she's a follower, but Lena fortunately didn't dominate that, which is like the only time Lena doesn't dominate everything.
Right.
And it's actually more of a look into Lena than it is to her. But I don't think that's purposeful. Or if it's purposeful on the part of the author. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I think she's designed to be sort of, she's sort of more of a MacGuffin than an actual character. Like the plot hinges on who did this thing to her less than it hinges on her.
She felt very much, what's the girl in that other one who gets lit on fire because it's like, and then they pour vodka? This felt like that book a lot.
You mean the book that's almost the exact same book?
Yes.
That's why I would not listen to that. I was like, there's no way I'm listening to any episode that you did on that before I start talking about this because I'll start conflating the two of them.
Yeah, it is like, as I'm reading this, it's like, did he just write the same book again?
Yeah, so, like this one's in Mexico, but that one's in the snow. Like they're so different.
Yeah, exactly. They went to 2 different extremes.
The collection that I have, actually, that's what the collection is Weekend and Slumber Party.
Really?
Well, it's called Weekend Slumber Party.
Those together.
Yeah, boy, I would have separated those two as far as humanly possible.
I mean, it gives you like a really good look though. So it's like if you want Christopher Pike, like this is the kind of shit you're going to get. A bunch of kids, too many characters doing fucked up things and having sex in the snow. And also weird talking birds for something or like it's on point for what he is though for his writing.
Well, let's move on to Lena Carlton. Lena was a bombshell. Her hair a frightening red, bushy and wild, and always in her face, through which peered brown cat eyes. So it's a redhead without emerald green eyes.
Nice.
That's important, I think. But she has a heart-shaped mouth that made the guys think of nothing but sex when it smiled slyly. However, Lena had fabricated her walk. It hadn't been there last year. Her butt winked with every step.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but I love it. Like, I hated the mouth part, but I like the winking butt.
Winked.
What is a wink?
I know what a butt clapping is, but I don't know what a butt winking is.
I think what it means is that she moves her hips so much that it like pushes her ass cheeks together. But like that is
like
not
maybe
how
with one cheek higher.
That's not a wink.
Imagine she takes one right foot and then she's like clench, and then left foot clench, and then right foot clench, and it's just like it's a new walk she just picked up. She decided to do the clench walk for some reason.
She would have amazing kegels.
Yeah, and she'd have a really nice butt. So those guys are for a reason.
Absolutely.
Anyways, I love Lena. She's probably my favorite character. She could be a sugar sister. She went to such lengths to find out what happened to her sister.
Yeah,
I do. I really fucking love a bad girl, dude. Like you give me a bad girl that does some messed up shit, but she's really smart, and I'm like, please, like take me. You can have me forever. Like,
well, you know what a bad girl she is, Cassie. There wasn't a clue of tan lines. That meant she had been sunbathing nude.
How risque of her.
And this is my favorite thing. This may be my favorite line in the book. Lena was ferocious. When she wanted something, she got it. Lena's first law.
Yes, yes. And she's honest too. She's direct. She's honest. She has no reason to fuck around. I just love her. She's a good character for me in this book. There's like too many people, but this one I was like my shining beacon.
She's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we also have some boys.
Unfortunately.
Because really, this entire book could just be those girls.
Yeah.
And it'd be fine.
I would have loved it.
But first, we have, boy, this is a rough name. Saul Salaya is my guess. Carrie's ex, stolen by Lena, which is a Pike trope. Moved from the barrio.
I'm sorry,
like
no,
literally from
the barrios.
Yes, well, you're right. From the barrios to Santa Barbara, and wound up in laid-back Hoover High like a wolf among sheep.
Oh my God.
Up close, Saul's features were thick and fearsome. However, Park had to admit he was probably handsome. Good for him. Strangely enough, he looked part Slavic. His mouth especially, which was large and sensual. So Park is thinking of Saul's large and sensual mouth.
And how attractive he probably is.
Yeah, probably. Also, his dark hair had a hint of red and fine curls that girls love to run their fingers through. But his sharp black eyes, his calculating expressions, and swollen, tattooed biceps were clearly from the wrong side of the track.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you like that? There's more racism, but I moved it to the problematic section.
So much. I hate him. Oh.
I mean, Saul is fine. I mean, he's not really. I
like
know.
him, actually.
Yeah.
The parts. So much of what you see of him is through Park's eyes, which sucks.
That's true.
But the things that you do see of him, the things that he says, the things he's willing to do, the only thing I don't really like is that he doesn't truly shut Carrie down. But everyone around him who's not Park sees it as a consideration to Carrie's hurt feelings. Whereas I see it as, okay, buddy, there's consideration and then there's like dangling a little thread of hope.
Right.
Because when they get to there, he's like, oh, hey, I'm going to like give you like set up a flirty line and then I'm going to like pull it back a little bit, which is not kind, right? He should have been a little kinder, but he's also a teenager. I give a lot of grace to teenagers in teen books because teenagers are ridiculous and they're just learning how to be social and be in relationships. And so I don't mind, like, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm going to judge this teenager for acting like a teenager. Out of all of them, he's responsible. He's really responsible about saying like, hey, I didn't leave Carrie because she got embarrassed. I left Carrie because Lena made me a better offer. He literally says made me a better offer. And he is always kind. When Carrie is at the party, the original party where Robin gets poisoned and she says she needs a ride home, he's like, I'll give you a ride home. When he thinks that Park is being a jerk because he moved on to Angie right after Robin was poisoned, he calls him to task on it when no one else will.
Right.
He may not be perfect, but he's also like not dealing the drugs that Park assumes he's dealing either.
That's
so,
true. He's just dealing 300 pounds of M80s.
300 pounds.
300 pounds of M80s.
I wonder why the tire blew. Could it have been all the extra
Good God. Good God. Well, speaking of Park, let's talk about him. I have issues. Like, he's such a douche, first of all. He's schooling Saul on the song Good Vibrations, that the melody structure is one of the most sophisticated ever created by the human mind.
He's the new Beethoven. The new Beethoven.
I missed that line. What?
No.
Yeah, I missed it the first time.
Totally.
Oh my gosh.
And then, this is great.
He was drunk, though.
Yeah, he was completely drunk. Angie laughed. Are you stoned? Park giggled. I'm bouldered. What?
That made me laugh. I did like that.
Oh, I like
that. Yeah.
But then there's this. What is this music that Saul's put on? It's such a loud record.
Oh.
It's Michael Jackson. Yeah.
What Michael song Jackson. Could it have been?
It was
it's
80.
Such
like,
a loud record.
What was it, like 86? So it would have been like
86.
Bad, maybe?
Yeah. It's so loud. It's like Huey Lewis in Back to the Future saying, "Does it have to be so darn loud?"
At least he was poking fun at himself.
No, I know, absolutely.
I do have to ask one question though about Park.
Yeah,
is he the only rich point of view male character that we ever get from Pike? Because usually we get these like middle class boys.
Yeah, and rich women.
Right, but
there was another one with a fancy car, but I can't remember who it was. There was a boy with a fancy car.
Was it the one who already made his name being an author, though?
I don't know.
Like Master,
I don't think he had a fancy car because he was hiding his stuff.
Yeah, there is the rich man, Master of
Murder, right? But like that's different because I think he came from like nothing and then made his way to it. Park is like Silver Spoon Kid.
Well, and here this bothers me. So this is 1986, and Park is obsessed for whatever reason with looking like Ryan O'Neal from Love Story, which is a movie that came out in 1970, and it was uncool then.
Right?
So I don't in any way buy that a high schooler is thinking about how Ally McGraw had annoyed Ryan O'Neal in the beginning of the movie Love Story. He strongly identified with the character Ryan O'Neal played. He even fancied that he resembled Ryan O'Neal somewhat. Angie said that he did. No.
I don't
buy it.
I don't.
It's 1986. There are plenty of... No, I don't buy it at all. That he's
like, why not say anything or something? Didn't Say Anything come out in like 86? No, well...
No, I don't know. Maybe.
But like it completely blows my mind. Like there wasn't a romantic movie after 1980 that he could have referenced. But like he also says that like, you know, someone looks like Linda Ronstadt and Audrey Hepburn or something like that. Like it doesn't, his references are like weirdly out of date that I was shocked that he mentions like The Pretenders, and then I remembered The Pretenders hit in like 79. So it was fine.
That's true.
You know, it's fine. But if they had stopped hitting in like 81, I would have been less shocked.
Maybe he was proto-hipster.
Oh, God.
He only likes things from before they were cool. Before he's cool. I don't know.
I want to know what he's referencing in his next book, right? Is he just going to be referencing like, you know, Hey Ya?
I hope not. Let's talk about Big Bert Billings.
Oh, God. You have to read that amazing description of him.
Yeah. Bert was simply humble. He hid his intelligence so well, in fact, that he couldn't remember exactly where he had put it. Everybody loved Bert. He was awfully big. Bert has half-inch long blonde hair and wild blue eyes, which I think that wild needed to be earlier in the sentence. I'm not sure if that belongs there. But there were those who said that Big Bert Billings was not a genius. Those were the same people who said that the Leaning Tower of Pisa was not straight and that the earth was round. Typical unimaginative fools.
It makes no sense, and it does not feel like it's from either person's point of view.
No, it really doesn't.
That's the problem with it, even though
I think, honestly, I would not be surprised if Bert Billings was literally someone Pike knew.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
He just wanted to put him in the book.
Yeah.
Because, he really... Like he's a nice guy, but he really has nothing to do in this book except maybe be dead.
Yeah.
I mean, he's my fave, though.
No,
he saves them at the end, sort of.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
He does, but couldn't literally anyone have?
He is like the Sally Lilliard of this whole entire thing.
Oh my god. I love him even more now. But doesn't he say something like super smart at the end, which is like so like they're like shocked by it, but I can't remember what it was.
I don't remember either.
I just feel like it was
I just know that
one-liner.
he pulled Paul Bunyan out of his ass somehow.
He did. He pulled
in the game of Celebrity. It doesn't make any sense.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Well, he also thinks that like Flynn's name is Flynn Michaels, which I think is hilarious.
Right. Right. Well, let's talk about Flynn Michaels / Flynn Powers / Michael Ryan Richardson.
Oh my gosh. He's certainly someone.
Flynn Powers was the new boy in town from England. He was a dream. Curly brown hair, dark green eyes, a walk as smooth as liquefied charisma, and a hypnotic accented voice that could literally put her, Shani, in a trance. He had the largest hands, beautifully formed and eloquent. They could have been stolen from a Michelangelo.
The next line.
What?
Yeah. No. Sorry, I didn't think you were going to read it, but the next part's my favorite.
Yeah. Everybody said it, even the guys.
Even the guys.
What man is walking around looking at another teenage man's like hands and being like, wow, those are so
like
eloquent.
Michelangelo.
I don't think I looked at anyone's hands in high school unless we were like dating. And I was like, oh, those are
I'd
nice
be like,
hands.
oh, cool glitter nail polish. I'm not like, oh, wow, those hands are so large.
Those hands.
I mean,
Well, he was neither tall nor well built, but he was a babe. All the girls wanted him, and Shani was trying to get to the front of the pack.
Mm-hmm. Way to sell it.
Sturdy and wiry from hours of surfing, he was nevertheless short and pale, and with lips rosy to the point of appearing touched up, and a mop of hair as black as his coal eyes. He was closer to a member of the Vienna Boys Choir than a movie star.
Wait, I thought you just told me he had dark green eyes.
No, wait, isn't that Park?
That's somebody else.
Oh, did I actually find someone else's description? I'm sorry.
Park.
That's Park.
I'm sorry. Yes, that is Park. Totally wrong. I'm sorry. But Lena thought Flynn was gay.
Yes.
It's just out just to let you know. Lena thought he was gay. It doesn't matter. It's never referenced again. And Lena's not even a point of view character. So,
well, I think
I don't know why.
I think, again, it's one of those things where we are getting so much about Lena before we get her on the page.
We do get a lot about her.
So much about her. And I think she's supposed to loom as this presence beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And, because she's so involved with like every aspect of this. And I think we're also supposed to be suspicious of her because she comes off in everyone's minds as like not necessarily the mean girl, but someone who has power. Right. And therefore is suspect.
Who was the girl with the funny name in that other one with the play? Wasn't there a girl with a funny name?
Rindy.
She had a car. Yeah, right. Yeah, Rindy. I think she reminds me of her. Lena reminds me of her, like her character, because she was also like really pretty and she wasn't like super mean, but she wasn't nice, and people like worshipped her, but didn't really like her.
That was the one where she got in the accident at the beginning, right?
Yeah. They got like they hit each other's cars or whatever.
And basically, Rindy was playing the role that everyone assumed she was, which was mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Okay, we also have a sorcerer who's really just an old man.
Yep.
Let me ask you, because I legitimately don't know, but I don't think so. Don Juan wasn't a sorcerer, right? He was just a wooer of women.
Yes.
Okay, because literally they say maybe he's a holy man. A what? Not like at church. A sorcerer, like Don Juan?
What? I remember that line and I just like blew over it because it was so bizarre.
Yeah. I was just like, maybe my knowledge of Don Juan wasn't complete or something, and he was a sorcerer, but no, it's good to know that he's not, and that's just bullshit, that line.
Like, I'm like looking up the poem. Because I'm like, I watched the one with like, I think it was like David Tennant or something, because I'll watch David Tennant in anything, and he just like slept with everybody.
Yeah. And he didn't like compel them. By the way, the British cover of Weekend is a snake wrapped around a statue of birds with a house way in the background.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I just Googled it, and it says that in the earliest version, Don Juan is portrayed as an evil man who seduces women thanks to his ability to manipulate language and disguise his appearance, and that those are demonic attributes. So maybe in the earlier version, he was supposed to have some sort of evil powers, and that's how he could seduce the women.
Huh.
And maybe that's what they mean, like maybe he has some sort of powers. I don't know, though.
It's a weird, out of nowhere, left field comment that doesn't make sense for the characters, I think.
Yeah,
but
deep
teens
cut
are sometimes
for
very
teenagers.
stupid and say really random things. So
yeah, that's true. Okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back on the PikeCast. Wow, friends. Where else can you get this kind of programming than the PikeCast? Nowhere. That's where. But we're trying to keep the lights on here. If you like what you're hearing and want it to keep happening, jump over to our Patreon at thepikecast.com/Patreon and throw us a few bucks to join our private Discord server. Higher tiers get books, stickers, bookmarks, and even personalized shirts. That's thepikecast.com/Patreon.
Once, Osgood and Frost were the up-and-coming stars of the burgeoning paranormal investigation TV show craze before a hoax put an end to their friendship, partnership, and television careers. Now, over a decade later, Prudence Osgood is a barely functioning alcoholic ghost hunter for hire. Her yearning for mystery and adventure is reignited when she receives a cryptic, untraceable email. She can't resist embarking on an investigation that tugs threads, winding through a sinister series of disappearances, her former partner's family, and a night 20 years ago when a semi blew a yellow light and nearly killed her. Reviewers are calling Osgood Is Gone a masterfully vulnerable and relatable 21st century horror story, and a bourbon-soaked supernatural mystery with sparkling dialogue that sticks the landing on LGBT characters, and main character Prudence Osgood, as tortured as she is clever, broken in all the best ways, and a true heroine for our times. Buy it today at Osgood Is Gone as a paperback, ebook, or audiobook narrated by me, JJ Ronvier.
Welcome back to the PikeCast. Shall we move into Remember Me and talk plot?
Sure.
Before we do, I want to give you a dramatic reading. Are you ready?
Sure.
Dearest Shani.
Oh, God.
Of all the girls I've known these 4 blissful years, you have been, with only a handful of exceptions, the closest one to my soul and body. If not for you and 2 or 3 others, I would not be where I am, king of the class, the one voted least likely to end up on welfare.
Oh my God.
I owe all my magnificent accomplishments to you and another girl or 2. I hope that when you become a psychiatrist, that you don't discover that you're nuts. You see, I understand you, your dark, lusty longings, and that would mean I'm nuts too, along with perhaps my close female friends. However, if in the middle of an analysis you uncover deep Freudian inhibitions, feel free to come to me for relief, for the sexual freedom I have given to other girls of your like predicament, a few here and there. All my love, all that Susie and Bunny and Clarice have not drained, I give to you. And once again, if in the lonely years to come you should ever need or simply desire an intimate pal,
An intimate pal.
an intimate pal, be sure to think of Pretty Park and friends and make an appointment to visit us.
Gross.
Love you, amongst others, Park.
I hate him so much. I hate him. I hate him
Me
so
too.
much.
And the reason I wanted to do that dramatic reading is because it's just as out of place as the fucking yearbook. Like, why do we spend a page and a half on these awful yearbook quote? Who writes that kind of shit in a yearbook? Park and Saul apparently
but
do.
Like, also, I feel like, again, there's this idea that we're getting like more of the people off, like before they're on the page from her perspective. But I think, and I could be wrong here, but he says he has shot his shot with her and she missed it. And I wonder if that's what it was. Because if so,
that was him shooting his shot.
He sucks even more than I ever thought.
Yeah, totally.
He's so bad. But can I just tell you? So Saul has his, right? Mm-hmm. And
I have that one too. If we want another dramatic reading,
we so don't, though, do we?
I don't.
They're so bad. But I can tell
yeah, they are really bad.
When I was flipping through it, I knew exactly the last line, like how he signed it, because I've never forgotten it. Love your legs. Like, it has stayed burned in my head since like 1987 or whenever I've read it. Love your legs. Like, screw you, dude. Shut up, you gross pigs. All my yearbook says is never stop being so unique. Like, oh God. Great.
I get a whole bunch of call me sometimes, and then I never got answers.
Dude, I don't know. I didn't have any friends, so I just walked up to strangers and was like, "Hey, you want to sign my book?" And they're just like, "Have a great summer," and just tags over and over.
Oh gosh, one of my notes says Pike is super into Flynn.
It really feels like it, doesn't it? Like he's British and he's pretty and he settles the thirstiness that we've come to expect from Pike books for Sherry to Shani.
I want that buzzer so bad, just for all of us.
Shani, it's so. This is like, I didn't go back to look at how Slumber Party was formatted, but I found it interesting that we don't actually get to the party, to the house, for like 60 pages, it feels like. They spend these two very long segments of arriving, and we have the boys with a flat tire, and the old man, and then there's a snake, and then the girls. It just feels like so much preamble. If I'm an editor, it's like, couldn't they just like chapter 1 opens the door to the house?
No, because then you don't get the old man and the snake.
Yeah,
which is very important, Yeah. It also, like, it puts the gun on the page.
That's true. It's true. It did add Chekhov's gun to the. I mean, so this. I'm frustrated because this Dove and Eagle story. I mean, the ladies already know how much I hate any attempt to really go all out in something that's not about the plot. And this Dove and Eagle story lasts several pages and is not helpful and really doesn't give us any actual information that we don't already know from other places. And just as an example of yet another character that shouldn't be in this book. There's no point for the sorcerer to be in this book. He doesn't actually reveal anything.
No, he just he apparently gives her a story. And like, yeah, because the bird's at the end too, and it doesn't make any sense that the bird has decided to like fly all the way from
all the way home to yeah.
So
it's
weird.
So strange and almost feels like padding, but at the same time, this book is longer than most of his books because we're like at 240 pages. and most of them top out right around 200. So it's weird to me that we're spending so much time on something so unimportant. All right. Anyway, we'll move on.
Weird. It's so weird. Like, I mean, seriously, because you've got the party as its own chapter, but then you've got the prank, which feels like it should be its own chapter.
Mm-hmm.
It's well, I mean, we'll get to it in terms of like when we talk more about the writing, but like it's really sloppy.
I mean, early Pike, I think that's just a description of early Pike. Okay, let me see if I can figure this plot out. Everybody essentially had a hand in poisoning Robin, whether intentionally or not. Right?
No.
No?
No.
Because some of them were handing the glasses.
Yeah, but she was almost passed out in the chair.
Except for Shandy. She's our good girl.
Yeah.
And
she
Michael
can't have
wasn't
anything
there.
to do with it. Yeah. Oh, and you're right. Flynn Michaels wasn't there. So she's poisoned. She it's horrible. She needs a new kidney. Her real brother decides to pose as someone else to observe her, to decide if she's good enough to get his kidney.
I can't.
And then
Say one time.
now this is the worst part here. Like he literally sets her up to kill someone.
No.
To decide whether or not she's good enough to get his kidney.
Really? That's how you took that?
I totally took it because he gives her he wasn't going to kill her, whether or not she said yes, but he's asking her to make the choice to kill someone or not.
Yeah, because he wants to know if she's going to say yes, kill, or no, don't kill. And if she says yes, kill, he's not going to give her the kidney.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's manipulative as fuck.
He's very extra, too. The fact that he took all this time to set up this whole thing. Well, okay, so what's her name? I forgot her name. I'm sorry. Lena?
Yeah.
Yes.
She's extra, but we do like her, so it's fine. But Flynn is a boy, and we don't like boys, and he's extra, and we don't like him.
It's true. It's true. Plus, and also his is so much more insidious because Lena, she goes through all this trying to figure out who hurt her sister. She's like, somebody poisoned my sister. Somebody made my sister. She's dying now. I need to figure out who this is because the cops couldn't do it. So I understand her need for revenge or her extraness. But this other guy, he's kind of curious about this sister I know I had, but I want to see if she's fucking worthy. Excuse me, dick. Who the fuck are you? Go back to England, you asshole. Either give the kidney or go. All this other stuff. He made me angry.
Wait,
I'm gonna pull what?
I feel like I read a completely different ending than the rest of you. So this guy goes to this house. He takes out the filter for the water, and then brings his sister, who he's been spending time with privately, apple juice and all her own food. So nothing has been cooked with any of the microbes that might make her sick. Right? Uh-huh. He's not the one who trashed the dialysis machine. He makes everybody else sick. He already thinks it's Carrie. He sets them all up to think that they've been poisoned, and he'll give them the antidote if they just admit who it was. He just needs to confirm it. Did I miss something?
Right.
Where he
says, I'm trying to find it. Yeah,
no, that's correct. But once the reveal of who poisoned her,
he gives her the option, but it didn't feel like that was going to be the last choice of whether or not Robin's a good person. I feel like he's already decided Robin's a good person.
I don't think so. No, I totally
I'm flipping through the book going, wait, I just reread that scene right before we started recording.
He says it, the line is right here. He says, he goes, before coming here this weekend, I never heard the old man's story, but it got me thinking how I could once and for all decide whether Robin deserved my kidney. That, after all, had been my primary reason in coming to the States.
Yeah.
To see if she deserved his kidney. He knew she was dying. He knew she needed it. He knew that he was her twin. He put her through all of this to see if she deserved it.
Yeah.
He was keeping her safe because he wasn't trying to kill her. But if I'm not saying he was hurting anybody, but if she had said she wanted that girl died, I think he would have just walked away. He'd been like, all right, bye.
I think the thing is that he sees her family as rich and selfish and who has been manipulating his family all the time. So if they've been this family who has raised, the father especially, but if they've raised two incredibly selfish children, why should he give up a part of his body? Like, this is not a simple, easy thing to give up one of your kidneys. You know,
True.
this isn't.
She never asked him to, though. The parent manipulated the other parent. He didn't even know until he walked in on it. Then he made the choice to take all of his money, fly to the States, meet this girl, lie to her, lie to all of her friends, pretend he was somebody else, get a fake ID, get a fake name, enroll in their school. He went through like incredible lengths to manipulate these people.
Oh, I'm not saying he's not extra, and I'm not saying he's not manipulative.
And then he's like, I did this all so I could see if you deserved my kidney. Like, who are you and your little kidney? Go back home. Like, nobody asked you to do any of this. Nobody asked for your help. Like, her dad, like, she didn't even know he existed. Like, her dad was, like, doing the payments and stuff behind her back. Like, she had no idea. And she's just like, oh, cool, I got a new friend. What's even creepier is that they were so close. What if they had like, what if she had been developing, like, a crush or something on him? Because she didn't even know that was her brother.
Right.
She's like, I liked you. She tells him that. Like, and they don't go into it, but, like, what did she mean? Maybe she meant, like, you know,
I mean, we're not saying that he's the worst, because a lot of these characters are all the worst.
No, him and Park are the worst for me.
But at the same time, he's being such a dick about this, and then he's gonna, like, he's gonna be like, yeah, I gave my sister a kidney, saved her life.
Oh, I'm so good. I'm such a great guy.
Good God. No, I hate, like, I mean, once we finally get to the big climax thing, which somehow feels like a Bond villain monologuing thing, when we're in that round room where everybody's chained to the sides, it's a lot. But it's there's so much there. And I feel like Pike does this a lot, where he gets way too complicated with things, because he did get very complicated with all of this. Like, oh, we got non-venomous snakes to release to bite people. You know, people could still be dramatically affected by non-venomous snakes. You know, there's a lot of shitty people right now, except for Robin, and she deserved the kidney even before all this shittiness.
And Shani's like, sign me up for this guy.
Lena's shitty. Yeah. I understand why Lena did all the stuff she did. I would have done the same thing if somebody like was killing my sister and nobody, like, the cops couldn't figure it out. I was like, look, these 5 people were here. I'm getting these 5 people back, and I'm going to fucking torture them until I get some answers. This is what's going to happen. Like, I mean, it's just, I'm not saying, it's just understandable.
No,
like,
I'm with you there. Yeah,
I just can't understand the thinking behind the other guy who's just in England living his own life, his own separate life. Like, and he's just like, I'm going to go to the States. I'm going to enroll in the school under a fake name and befriend these people, but pretend that I'm not who I am, so that I can see if she deserves my kidney. Right. Like, if she deserves to live, your literal sister? Like, what? Excuse me?
You're making that choice. That is the choice.
It's just so weird. It's so weird.
Oh, see, to me, it makes perfect sense. Like, you have been told by your mom that this rich guy has kept you apart from your sister, because he could have had a relationship with her for the past, what is it, like 5, 6, 7 years or something like that? Because when they were 12, the mom reached out to the father and said, hey, can we just get to know each other? And the father was like, oh my God, no, because he was so threatened by the concept that...
I mean, that's a normal thing in adoptions, though. Like, a lot of people don't want to have anything to do with the people who give the children up.
Right.
There are closed adoptions for that reason, but they were doing it like under the table,
but
is what I assumed by the fact that he just paid them.
He said he would destroy her.
Yeah. No, Dad is a dick.
Yeah.
Like, Dad's totally an absolute dick. So this guy is saying, all I know about this family is that the father is a horrible person, and he is famous, by the way. He's a famous man who has a horrible reputation. And Lena is extra as hell too, right? So he's going to school every day with Lena, who's Lena-ing it up everywhere, right? And then he meets Robin, who's like very kind, but she's, Robin and Lena surround themselves with this group of people, and they're swearing to God. Like, so the thing about this, which I think is really interesting, is that after the party, the cops get involved. and this is like practically throwaway, but they do discuss it. The cops get involved. They do their due diligence or half-ass their due diligence, and they declare it was an accident. And everybody goes away and goes, it must have been an accident. Even though you know from Shani that they have, at least one of them has some discomfort about whether or not it was an accident. And then we find out later that Lena absolutely has this idea that it absolutely wasn't an accident. So you have this group of kids who for months now have been walking around like nothing happened. And this is who this guy has been hanging out with them since February, walking around this group of spoiled California kids who are pretending that this girl didn't get poisoned.
Okay, actually, your explanation is making me wonder what the fuck his plan was.
No, and he met Robin before that. So he's known Robin the whole time. Simultaneously, he's going to school with them. He had already been going and like meeting Robin at her house secretly.
Right.
So he had established that she was a good person. Just a couple But it was enough for him to be like, yeah, she's sweet, she's nice, and they like got along and he took care of her.
But he had to
be like, yeah, cool. She seems nicer than all of these other people. They're clearly separate kinds of people. Let me still put them through all this shit this night and manipulate everybody into coming here and then pulling a gun on all of them in front of the sick girl. What?
Yeah.
To see if she deserves the kidney. Like, any way I look at it, I cannot understand his thinking. Like, as a character, he's just like bad. In my head.
The Bond thing is like blatantly fake because Shani says that. I guess we're in her perspective at that point, that he drops the act like so quickly and immediately that I feel like if you're playing it through your head like a scene, because I've read this book twice right before, and when I was a kid I couldn't get him like at all, but then I like when I played it in my head like a scene, the line where she says he drops it immediately, I could see that a little bit more clearly, and I'm like, oh, that's so weird. It's really weird. And then he's like, I was a drama major. And I'm like, do they have majors in British, like well, I forget what they call it. Like, it's not secondary. Is it secondary school? I don't know. But it's like, do they even have majors though? But like, he was super into drama.
Think so.
So he's like playing this character to like push this agenda of getting Carrie to admit a thing. And he only got a little bit of time. Like he says specifically that he only got a little bit of time with Robin because he was trying to avoid both her parents and the nurse, because he doesn't meet the nurse, who they shouldn't even, I think it's weird that they call her a nurse because she was like the housekeeper and nanny for so long.
Right.
And then she took like a course to learn how to use the dialysis machine. And now they only refer to her as the nurse, which is just bizarre. But
it's rich people.
I guess. Like, I understand why Lena, like, jokingly refers to as Nursey, and she hates it on the phone call. But, yeah, so, like, I get that he thinks that he's playing a character, but for the longest time, every time I read it, I felt like he wasn't. But I have to believe that it is because the book tells me in two different ways that he is. And that who he really is the character at the end, who has the conversation with her and is going to stay with her.
Who he really is to me is somebody who for months watched this girl dying with the power to save her. For literal months. It doesn't matter how little time he spent with her. He watched this girl getting progressively worse because he wanted to play sleuth, because he wanted to be Sherlock, solve a mystery. Like,
I think he
could have gone to the hospital and just given her the kidney and saved her life, and then they could have figured things out later. Like, and
then if she'd been a dick, he could have just killed her.
Yeah, and like they go to the party or the weekend gathering, and she's yellow. She's clearly getting worse. Like, even during the trip, she's getting worse. Like,
hold on, but the book specifically says that in that last month, she got progressively worse. And Lena says at the beginning that they just got the letter from the hospital saying that she's off the transplant list. So, like, all these things are set up. They're just like, blink and you miss the moments, though.
So I'm with Cassie. He's still a huge dick.
If somebody was dying, I wouldn't be sitting there playing games. I would save their life. Like, that's just who I am as a person.
Right.
I cannot fathom anything else.
And you'd be right to do it.
Anything else, so I can't. understand that.
Yeah, there's just, I think there's a lot of bitterness.
I would kick him out of my house.
and
then at the end, they congratulate him. They're like, he's a real man. No, he's a piece of fucking shit with a kidney that I need. So give me his kidney and then get him the fuck out of my house.
Yeah.
That's where I would be.
I'm on board
point.
with that. Yeah.
I'd be so mad. I'd be so mad. He's worse than the Oatmeal Boys, in my opinion, because he was manipulative. He manipulated everybody, even Robin, the person who like didn't do anything to anybody. Like the only like stereotypical good, angelic, sweet person in the whole story. Like he spent months lying to her. Like no.
And there was a solution to all of this. Was when he met Robin, he could say, "Hey, I'm actually your brother. Don't tell your dad."
Yeah, he could have, and she would have kept that secret. She was clearly like,
"I want to get to know you." Yeah. Totally.
Let's get to know each other. Like, you're adopted. I know you're adopted. We've both got green eyes. That's been made clear in the story now. Like, let's become good best sibling friends and not manipulate all the people around you. And maybe Lena would still go off the deep end a little bit and get her rattlesnakes. But again, I still understand that bad bitch move. So I would want to save my sister too. Be like, who poisoned her? I know one of you motherfuckers did it. Like, seriously, who did it? Can you imagine if somebody, like, just picture yourself with your friends and loved ones, like, one of them did it, and then you have to go months pretending it was just an accident. Like, how wild. Like, I would have so much anxiety after that. I'd be eating Rolaids too.
Yeah. I do want to I don't know why this is in my plot notes, but I want to mention it, that when they go to the hospital, Lena is sitting in a chair by the elevators browsing through a Playgirl magazine.
Do they have those in hospitals?
No.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely not.
Sorry. I was like, wait, is there a special section if you ask for it? Like, they have a little like booth behind the desk, and they're like, oh yeah, we got those for you. Hang on, let me pull one out special.
Absolutely not. She had to have brought it from home.
Ooh, spicy.
She must subscribe to it, honestly.
I love her.
Well, we don't really have a villain in this book, except for everybody.
Cassie's like, pointed noises.
I have a villain.
Cassie
personally. I'm going to go at him with a scalpel myself and get that kidney.
Okay. So you're pushing all your chips in on Flynn.
I will say I don't like Park either. Just not as an overall villain, but like Park just as a person, I did not like his character at all. He was he wasn't even like an evil manipulative douchebag. He was just like one of those guys who's like, ooh, I could get it from this girl too. Let me go to the pool with you. Like, no, gross. Right. Yeah, I don't like it.
Then let's move into thirst for a little fun. Sexuality and Pike.
Because we didn't even talk about Carrie actually committing the crime.
Oh my god, I totally spaced that. Oh yeah, Carrie's the bad guy. You guys are right. Carrie did the poisoning. Carrie did the lying too. She's bad.
I think it's really interesting because she doesn't, it technically is an accident. She has almost like a dissociative episode where she takes
hers is really weird.
Anger and whatever, and literally all she does is put poison in a cup and then feel better about herself. That's it.
Yeah.
And then she just interrupted.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
she doesn't even put beer in it. She just puts the poison in it.
Right.
She puts beer in it after, but then she puts it down on the counter.
Right. So she gets interrupted with poison in a cup, and she's like, "Oh God, I have poison in a cup. Better put beer in it." And like she put it behind the thing.
Yeah.
And then someone grabbed it, and no one noticed that it was a different color except for the almost completely passed out person, in the chair, just drifting in and out of consciousness. But it's really interesting because it really was not. It wasn't malicious, and it was kind of an accident, but she did watch that cup go from one place to the other, and it could have been stopped. And it's really sad. Like when you hear her recount it, you get like that moment of like, oh God, at any moment this could have not happened.
Right.
Because at that point you really feel for Robin. You really feel for her. And the horror.
Especially going back to like the sip too. Like she takes a sip and she's like, it tastes bad. And they're just like, keep going, keep going. And I'm just thinking like, what was Carrie doing at that literal moment? Just watching that.
Right.
Like
that.
And if she was having some sort of like dissociative like episode because she was so just like upset and angry and stuff, like she was probably just watching that, like not even like just staring at it. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm stuck here. Like, this is what it is. And then for like the next several months, like that would be something you can't tell people because that's too far. Like no matter what the reasoning is, like what could you say to explain or excuse that? Because they're just all focused like on Robin, which as they should be, because she's sick now. And like, it's just,
And also the domino effect of already being the school pariah for this stupid prank.
Panties.
Yeah. Exactly.
Didn't actually really happen. What's going to happen if something already actually did happen? How's that blowback going to be compared to the fake thing that's already trashed your reputation?
And wasn't it Angie that even puts the things in there, or was it somebody else? It was Angie, right? She puts the panties in there. Oh,
yeah,
she thinks
it wound up being someone else.
Yeah, and Angie was the prankster
because they were sharing a locker.
Yeah.
Whatever.
God, it was just bad. It was like a lot of bad things happening to these kids at once that did not need to escalate this far, and did. Just really, what we can take from this is that the parents shouldn't be leaving the poison so readily available to these
Yeah,
teens.
maybe not. I will say that I really was impressed with how that chapter captured a drunk ass party, because it is sort of like moving in and out of focus, and we're going from person to person, and it feels chaotic and it feels out of control. And I enjoyed the way he wrote that.
Yeah.
I have no frame of reference, so
No?
I thought that it was thought it was pretty accurate, because it's like when you are like under the influence of pretty much anything, like you do have sometimes those gaps where it's just like, now I'm standing here I'm looking in the mirror in the bathroom, and I don't really remember getting up and coming to the bathroom, but now I'm in the bathroom. Like, and so reading that, it was just like, oh, okay, like that.
Yeah.
That seems like how that would have gone. Like, you can tell she's really fucking drunk.
Like really drunk. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're playing loud music by that up and coming star, Michael Jackson.
who'd already been a star for like 20 years. Since he was a kid, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, now are we okay with moving into Thurston's?
The king of pop! Not even like the king of
loud
rock.
record.
Sorry.
I mean, if there's one thing I think of when I think of Michael Jackson, it's very loud. Very, very loud.
Oh, God. Whatever.
He's totally not.
It was probably rock with you. Like the smoothest song.
Okay. So, anyone have anything that would qualify as thirst or sexuality or titillation that they want to read? Because I got bunches.
Oh gosh, I don't necessarily want to read anything, but I was really impressed with the conversation that Lena has on the phone with the nurse, nanny, housekeeper, or whoever she is character, where they are speaking relatively frankly about sex, because one is a teenager and one is an adult.
It doesn't happen often.
No. I mean, also there aren't a lot of adults in there, and when they do talk, it's awkward. But I liked that there was someone that she could say, hey, gotta go. You know, my hunky boyfriend's at the door. And she doesn't get a lecture. She doesn't get anything.
Right.
I think it's partially because Lena's supposed to be this like force of nature and you can't talk her out of anything. But also there are a lot of parents who are just like, well, my teenager is going to have sex. And what's important is that my teenager has sex safely.
Right.
And having that person who doesn't try to give you a lecture felt to me better than any other books or any other media I was taking in at the time, which would have like, you know, oh, my goodness, don't,
exactly.
Or make sure you don't forget your you know what I mean?
You don't want to have an abortion.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Because that, you might die in the middle.
And get trapped into a
get trapped in
alternate
another
reality
world.
or whatever.
Yeah.
with a witchy red-haired girl.
You never know.
Never know.
So it's, you're right. It's very, and there's very, very little moralizing in this book, which is surprising considering how early on this is, and considering it was still written for Point, and Point has a lot of moralizing in it. So it was likely that Pike was somehow just getting away with this shit. So I've got quotes. You're practically naked. Well, if it's Soul you're worried about, he's already seen me naked many times. Him and a couple dozen other guys, Carrie muttered. Cattiness. What can we play? Let's have an orgy, Saul muttered into the floor. I mean, that's not something you downplay. You don't downplay that sentence. You upplay that sentence.
He's getting a massage and whatever. And then Lena's like, I'd rather have an orgy than play charades or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the next suggestion is charades. Great. We do have what is very likely a masturbation fantasy here for Shani.
Mm-hmm.
And Flynn. The fantasy started in third gear as Shani turned off the light and hit the pillow, pretending he was there beside her, his left hand caressing her lower back. They already had their clothes off. Her right hand stroking his silky brown curls, their free hands, there's a lot of hands going on here, their free hands absorbed in unspeakable acts. He was kissing her deeply, whispering between moist
mouthfuls
that what they were doing was wrong, but that he couldn't help himself. And she was sighing with pleasure, crooning sweetly that she was glad that it was wrong. He began to M-dash because the phone rings. So, masturbatus interruptus. How'd that go for y'all?
Masturbatus interruptus?
No, I mean the fantasy. I know that there's nothing good about masturbatus interruptus.
I mean, I was just particularly taken with the words themselves, just because that was like a really funny. Like I was like, I can think of like, never mind. I just thought it was. I just thought it was funny. It sounded funny. That's all.
Yes,
scientific science.
It was scientific. Let's see. I want someone to read this with me.
Nope.
Jesse, will you perform with me?
What is it?
It's a conversation from the party that has no descriptors, so it'll be very hard for me to read the entire thing myself.
All right, what is it?
Okay, I'm sharing it in Discord. And I feel you are going to be person number 1.
Okay, so the first line?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever?
I don't know who person number 1 is.
No, me neither. Yeah.
But it's with Park. I'm going to play Park.
Okay. Have you ever, done it?
Park giggled. You mean, have we ever had sex?
Shh. Yeah. Have you?
Yeah. No, I don't know. Kind of. I think. Not really.
It's none of my business. I was just wondering. So let's go swimming.
Sure. Wait. I don't have my trunks.
So what? I won't wear my bikini. We can go skinny dipping.
You mean naked?
Sure. Why not?
Yeah, that's some good dialogue. Okay, so I have I don't know who said this. I wish I did, because it's filled with venom. She's so sweet, so cutesy, so Miss Saintly, so virginal. She's worse than the worst jerk, which I think is the funniest sentence ever. If you said anything bad about her, everyone would jump on you. It makes me sick. I don't know who said that.
I think that was Angie.
Yeah, it's got to be Angie. She gets so mad because you can't flirt with her boyfriend because it makes you look like the bad person.
Oh, right. Yes.
Unlike Lena, who can just step in and
she can have whatever she wants.
Yeah.
So I have one last one that could also be part of the problematic section, and it's topical this week. At least James Bond's ladies got a little sex before he killed them.
What?
Yep.
Where's that from?
It's when Shani is in the desert.
Yep.
And
Never mind. I remember now.
That, yeah.
Oh God, it's.
Okay, let's move on to Die Softly, moralizing and problematic elements in the writing and plot. We have some racism again.
Oh God. My favorite ridiculous moment of Park's racism is when he says, I don't know how Soul's father could have possibly gotten out of the barrios, if you can hear my air quotes. He has a successful business. Like, what? It must have been hard work. I just don't know how he did it. Like, you just answered your own question, you racist little ass.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate him so much.
Yeah, he's pretty terrible.
I did confirm with my my other podcast co-host that cholo is not something that white people should ever say.
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
And they use
there's
it.
That.
Everybody, well, not everybody, but quite a few people.
No, it's really just him and Park and Park's calling him a cholo, I think.
Lena says it once or twice.
Oh, well, I mean, everybody, yeah, sure.
Yeah, when he throws her at the party, like he stands up and she falls off his lap or whatever, she says that to him.
This is part of the peer pressure in getting Robin to drink. How are you going to lose your virginity if you won't let a guy get you drunk?
That's
fun. That's sweet. You know? This is I hated this so much. This is from the hospital at the end about Robin. She has her appetite back. During the past 7 days, she hasn't stopped eating. You're going to have to talk to her, Park. You don't want a pig for a girlfriend.
Wait, is it Shani who said that?
Yes.
Yeah. The one who can't even eat one candy.
But oddly, the most problematic thing in this book, I think, is from Pike's bio. Mr. Pike currently lives in Los Angeles, California. In his spare time, he enjoys scuba diving, meditating, running, and trying to convince teenagers in local bookstores that he really is Christopher Pike.
Dude, what?
That makes me uncomfortable.
He's just walking up to teens in the bookstores like, excuse me, girls, this is my book. Yeah. Do you want to buy it? I'm this author.
That just 100% means that scene in Master of Murder is accurate.
Oh my gosh. We wondered that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so uncomfortable. Now we're moving into the season of passage where we talk about the best and worst writing in the book. There are some moments where it feels like really good writing. Like the opening sentence of the book is, "The road was painful. Last summer's hurricanes had dug strategically placed potholes along the narrow asphalt highway." Like it's evocative, and I like that a lot. Did any of you find any quotes that you would like to share with us?
Oh, absolutely. Oh no, my favorite line, my other favorite line in the whole book. I know you read one of my other favorites, but my other favorite line is, "God probably didn't trust Lena." It is so good. Except
he really, really builds Lena up. And I like that because it's clear he really likes Lena.
But the problem with that is, like, the flip side of it is that he literally tells you a few pages later that Lena is incredibly trustworthy because she'll always tell it to you straight. So kind of a problem there because he's got this amazing line and then contradicts himself right afterwards, which I have like a whole thing about how this writing plays out is that you get these great lines and then you're like, hey, what about the rest of this? Because it's not lining up at all. And I get really sad about it.
It's very much a product of a lack of revision and lack of editing.
I feel like I have an explanation, though, for this particular situation. Yes. So, God doesn't trust... Oh, wait, no. Let's start with her being trustworthy, because she'll tell you how it is. Like, I feel like that is because she's honest, which is why she's trustworthy. But God wouldn't trust her because she's up to some shenanigans, and, like, she'll do whatever the fuck she wants. So she's not trustworthy in terms of, like, is she a good friend? Or is she, like... I don't know if I'm putting this down right.
No, I get what you're saying.
Right.
Like, God knows what's in her heart.
Yeah,
yes.
Yes. God sees her.
Yeah.
And she doesn't give a shit. Like, if she wants to get some rattlesnakes, she's gonna do it, you know?
Yes.
Therefore, that's not very trustworthy in terms of, like, her being a friend to you, because she's gonna let these snakes out.
Very true.
Very true. Makes sense. Yeah, no, I can definitely think of somebody in my life like that, unfortunately.
Oh.
I love this line here. Lena and Saul had disappeared, probably into a bedroom, to discuss Euclidean geometry.
Oh my God, I read that as non-Euclidean geometry.
So they're summoning Cthulhu?
Reference, and I was like, Pike, that's so weird.
I feel like it is a Lovecraft reference just in the fact that it is Euclidean geometry. Yeah, I enjoyed that. And then this one. Overhead, like torn cotton dipped in red dye, clouds raced to blot out the first stars.
Oh, yeah, I almost wrote that down, but I knew you were going to, so I did.
That's a lovely line there.
I literally, if I had made a note, it would have just said, Cooper's going to read this, don't bother.
Well, I'm glad I've made my style of notes clear.
Okay, it says page 46, but I can't figure out where it's saying this.
Is it just the whole page?
It just says class mattress. Oh, there we go.
Oh, geez, really?
Oh, yeah, no. So I thought it was about a person, but it's actually about the beach. Now I'm kind of sad.
What?
He refers to the beach as a white carpet of sand that would be their class mattress for the next couple of nights. Because in the beginning,
yes, because they're supposed to be sleeping on the beach, right?
And there's also supposed to be so many people,
right?
It's supposed to be like a huge party, and then only a few people show up. Which Lena lies at first and says, "Oh gosh, I put the wrong thing on the invitations, and the reason you all know to come on the right day is because we're all so close."
Right.
But I was like, class mattress, who was that about? Carrie or Lena? But I actually really like it just because the words sound really good together. Class mattress.
It does.
I feel like he was proud of himself when he wrote that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. You can always tell when he's proud of himself too.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just like, hey, you almost think he's gonna in the next paragraph say, by the way, did you see what I did up there?
Like he should put little stars where he literally pat himself on the back. But I pat him on the back too, figuratively.
No, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
We see you, Kevin. We see you.
Do you have any others?
Not good stuff.
Okay. Then let's move into the bad stuff, because I've got a few of those.
Is it salty ears? Is it salty ears?
It is not salty ears. I don't know that one.
Salty ears. I think it's...
Well, read that. Give me that.
I didn't write a page number with it because it was so gross. I never wanted to see it again. Oh, so
there's just salty ears somewhere.
It's somebody making out with somebody.
Oh, like after they were in the ocean.
Maybe? I don't think so.
No, just salty ears all by themselves? Well, that is horrifying.
I think it's making out, and then they like are going for the licking the ears thing, and then but hopefully it is just the ocean air, and I just was thinking that maybe Pike had never done that before. I was like, maybe waxy ears, but no, not salty. I've never they're by the ocean, it's fine, but it just that's not what I wanted to hear.
Well, my two are actually both about name dropping other characters. So she had chosen Luke Skywalker for Flynn. If anyone seemed to have the Force with him, he had some kind of power. Great.
Oh, his name is Powers too. It's like not
His
even
name
a pun.
is Powers.
It's not even a good pun if it's a pun.
It's not. No. But this one really pisses me off. And it's because Romeo and Juliet is nobody's favorite story.
Nope.
It's just not.
Nope.
I'm Romeo. She clapped her hands together. I mean, Juliet. I don't get that either. Thanks, Flynn. That's one of my favorite stories. And then, was he trying to tell her something?
Yeah, he wants her to die.
Yes, he is going to poison her. One of my favorite stories.
Well, he's
it really is.
Whatever.
Yes. So those are my bad ones. I'm sure there are more. Really, there's a whole lot of mediocre in this book.
It's you know what it is. So you've said before that you feel that Pike isn't getting possibly not getting the time to revise,
right,
and getting published so fast. But this is one of the early books. If anything is going to get revised, if anything's going to get the time, right? Wouldn't it be one of your early books?
Yeah.
And so I went into this thinking, hey, at least this one will be so early on that most likely he had time with it. But now I'm wondering, like, was there no time with it? Because
I mean, he did
Slumber
write
Party
2 books in 86.
Right. That's what I'm thinking, that this one must have been like, hey, you know what? We just bought Slumber Party, because Slumber Party was the first one, right?
Right. Slumber Party was officially first, listeners. Officially, 85.
And they're like, can you do something else? And he's like, yeah, switch the snow to a beach, switch this to that.
What if instead of winter, it's summer?
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, yes, do it.
But this is like, from an editing perspective, this book is a hot mess, right? So I do a little editing.
It really is.
I do a little book doctoring. And this book is a mess. Like, I got to the first page and I'm like, oh, look, an ordered list with semicolons. I don't know that I would have necessarily put that in one of my own books, right? Because it's a relatively short list. And I know I'm getting really technical here, but I thought to myself, oh, what a cool idea that you're publishing this book for tweens and teens, right? Because that would be the point audience. And you're putting in this ordered list with semicolons. That was my first thought when I started rereading the book. And I thought, good for kids that are learning something.
Good for kids.
And then it comes up, and then you get another one, another strong use of semicolons by the next page. And I thought, oh, well, maybe this is well edited. And then there are all these instances where it's blatantly not, right? So Shani uses the word shaman for the native man who is walking around and being very mysterious. But then suddenly, later in the book, she switches the word that she uses to the same word that Park was using, which is sorcerer.
Right.
And I thought, does she have a reason to switch it? Or was that just a mistake on editing's part to not pick that up and just switch it really quickly? Because I did feel like they were using 2 different words to make sure that you knew whose point of view you were always in and to differentiate those points of view.
Well, and speaking of points of view, there is so we open with Shani's point of view, and it's a long chapter, and then we move into the boys' point of view. It's a little less focused, but in the middle of the boys' point of view chapter is this 2-paragraph description of things Shani knows and doesn't know. So there's no reason we should have that. There is no reason whatsoever we should know what Shani is thinking, what she thinks about these people, what she's worried about on this trip, because we just had a whole chapter with her.
Right. It's not right. It feels like a first draft. It really does.
Very loose. Yeah.
Which means that all the parts that are great are like jumping right out at you. And all the parts that aren't great are like, hey, could you run this by, do one more pass on it, tighten it up, and get it back to me? Here are my notes. Except that doesn't feel like it ever happened.
Right.
Which doesn't mean it's not readable. It's absolutely readable. It's entertaining. Yeah. The mystery is interesting. I would have asked him to do a different ending, because that ending, oh my gosh, that ending feels like an after-school special ending where they all decide to drink beer in a hospital room with a girl who has just had a kidney transplant. And then this bird comes in and then they're all like, ha ha ha, guess we won't drink that beer. Could be poisoned. Like, it's so weird and trite and feels like a sitcom ending.
Well, and Pike does that too. Like, if you look before the epilogue, the ending of the book proper is, I thought you saw, don't drink the water.
Right. But I feel like
so
that
it ends on a sitcom gag.
But I'm fine with that. Like, okay. At least they're not drinking beer in a hospital room with a girl who looks like she's about to take a sip too, even though she just got a kidney transplant. And a bird.
And a bird.
A bird that flew up from Baja, California.
Yes, right.
Am I? Did it not feel very strange?
No, it also felt like a mega happy ending.
Oh, right.
And everyone's happy now.
But the beer was left by the previous occupant of the room, too.
Well,
so I'm like, they don't even feel like they're in a hospital room. They feel like they're in a hotel
maybe
room.
That previous occupant was also the one that left the Playboy magazine that Lena is reading. The Playgirl. I'm sorry, because Playboy, you could actually maybe have seen a Playboy in a hospital. Playgirl, there's no academic content whatsoever. That's just dicks. It's just dicks.
I have no idea. Well, I mean, I feel like Playboy was like ubiquitous when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But Playgirl was like the holy grail of magazines. Nobody had one, or if they did, they hit them a lot better.
Well, like it is really because like no one was subscribing to Playgirl to read an article at all. And, it's the joke about Playboy, but it's true. There are really good articles in Playboy. Playgirl is like if Hustler was about men. That's what it is. So it doesn't belong in a hospital is what I'm saying.
Right.
And you don't just read it out in the open either.
Right,
That's like, it's weird. It's very weird to me.
But it's also kind of empowering because...
No, that's true.
This concept that like Playgirl was so... I mean, look at Shani's fantasy. It's all around the concept of sex being taboo. The two of that she... Like, it's not even them... Well, I guess it is insinuating that the two of them are having some form of sex, right? But they're not having intercourse and she's still referring to it as bad because it's all hands.
That's true. It's unspeakable things.
Right. And it's bad to her.
I don't know. I just know that if I was reading a Hustler in a hospital, I would be in the wrong.
You'd be kicked out. Especially
not just that. I would be morally negligent.
Right.
Because kids shouldn't have to see Hustler. And kids also shouldn't have to see Playgirl in a hospital. Fuck. Clearly I am opinionated about that. Well, shall we move into last act? Now we have our final thoughts and ratings out of 5 Pikes. Alana, you get to go first. What do you got?
So I checked my Goodreads for the last time I read it to see how many stars I gave it. And I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, which I'm not quite sure why. But I think it might have been like 2.5 rounded up. But for a Pike, I'm going to give it 2 Pikes.
2 Pikes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cassie, where are you at this time?
So I liked it. I think I think it's just basic. It's like a lot of his other books. There were things I liked about it and things I didn't, but I really liked Lena. And so I'll give it, okay. I was going to say 2.5, but I'm going to give it an extra half just for Lena because of how much I like her.
Okay.
And then I hope she can come back in another book later and we can just have a whole Lena story where she does more shenanigans. So I will give it 3. And then I will throw on half of a rattlesnake that got shot in half by somebody's random, really accurate shooting. Like that happened twice in the book.
It did.
2 different rattlesnakes got shot by a gun in half, which is wild. So, I'm going to throw half of this. And that's not just like half a pike. It's a full, like the extra pike, but it's just half a snake because that's all we have left. Like I can't change what happens in the story. It got shot.
Okay, so how many? Give me a number now. Now I'm confused.
So now I'm confused. Cooper, hang on. I think
because it sounds like you've gone all the way to 4.
No, I'm not at 4. I'm not confused about that. Not 4. Okay. 2.5 stars, but then half of a snake. So I'm at 3.
3. Okay.
3 total.
That makes sense. Okay. Becca, how about you?
So I'm gonna agree with Cassie in terms of it being pretty basic, and I would like to add on that Lena and Alexa should have a story together. Mm-hmm. We need some spin-offs, and it's just those 2. I'm gonna give it 2 bottles of insect death.
Wow. Okay. I'm also giving it a 2. And what I'm finding amusing is I'm looking at our schedule here, and this has gotten the exact same rating as Slumber Party now.
I mean, same book.
Basically because it's just Slumber Party again, and it's nothing special, and there's way too fucking many characters. So I'm not even making the 2 anything special because I want to emphasize control. And conciseness. It is 2 Pikes, and that's it. That's mine. And now we go to the wrap-up. So, Alana, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find more of you online?
So you can find me as Polyamorous Librarian on WordPress, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, and then I'm a little bit more personal as Hello Librarian on Twitter.
And where can they find your work?
I have a page specifically for my work on my WordPress site.
Excellent. Cassie, where can they find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at ControlAltCassie, CTRLALTCassie. I'm also on Instagram under the same name. And then I have an art shop where I sell books and art and lots of other things. And that is shopletsgetgalactic.com.
Becca, where can we find more of you online?
Yes, you can find my blog at astoldbybex.wordpress.com. I'm on Twitter and TikTok at astoldbybex and Instagram at readwithbex.
You can find me at coopersbeckett.com, and I'm on all social media pretty much. I don't use Facebook much because fuck Facebook, at Cooper S. Beckett. And where can our listeners find our show online?
You can find us on social media at the PikeCast, and we also have a Patreon that we would really appreciate people joining. You can get early access to our episodes, some cool physical rewards, and access to our Discord. We also have a Goodreads group where we read about Pike. Hang on, let me do that part again. We also have...
to be fair, we do not read an awful lot about Pike because there is not much about Pike.
That was misleading. Don't join it expecting that. We have a Goodreads that is set up like a book club. So we just discuss the book even if you're not in the Discord with us. But the Discord is very hoppin', so hop on over.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us, Alana. It was really a lot of fun. And this book was more fun to talk about than it was to read, I think.
Thanks for having me.
And listeners, your homework for next time is The Immortal. Until then, pleasant dreams.
Woo!
You survived the night, friends. You can peek out from under your covers and see the first blues of dawn out the window. Thanks for spending the night with the PikeCast, and we hope you'll join us again next time. Until then, Pikers, pleasant dreams. Okay, Magic Fire, our first section, and let me do that again. Let's move into it. You like that? Yeah.
I think we should keep that first take.
We gotta.
I hope so.
I hope so.
Okay. I hope he says something about shaking the Polaroid picture.
Yes. I just hope there's like a line and he's just like, ice cold.
Right. It's cooler than being cool. If he doesn't do it, he's canceled, okay?
Wow.
And 16 lines.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah. That should be like the tagline on the cover of the book that comes out.
Oh my.
Oh gosh, and now I need somebody to mark up a Christopher Pike style cover. And then just at the bottom it just says, all right.
Yes.
And the book should just be called Hey Ya.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
yeah. But then it has you know what, at the bottom it does have to say, what's cooler than being cool?
Yeah.
Ice cold.
Yeah.
And it takes place in the winter at a cabin, you know.
Yeah, where someone is desperate to
Slumber Party
get
with
some
the snowman.
strange. Yeah.
The most ominous snowman, like Jack Frost. That'll be the reference that he pulls to use